Hi guys, a quick video here on the difference between this line here and this line here. So a lot of times we have your standard line y equals x plus b, and then you have y equals something or x equals something. And you might remember one goes up and down, one goes side to side, and I just want to help you remember which one's the horizontal, which one's the vertical, and why. Okay, so if we have the line y equals 3, so let's go back a second here. Our standard form for a line is y equals mx plus b, where you have something in front of the x, and that's your slope. And then here's your y-intercept right here. Okay, so if you have this here, y equals 3, it kind of looks like this, but it doesn't. Okay, and you ask yourself, what's going on here? Well, what happens is you have y equals something. Okay, that's your 3. And in this case, it's not this part, it's this part, it's the b. So it's the y-intercept. So if you were to sketch this, it would have a y-intercept of 1, 2, 3. Now, how do you remember that? Well, one thing is this. You're going to have a line that is always valued at y equals 3. So what's that mean? It means that no matter what x is, y is 3. X is 1, y is 3. X is 0, y is 3. X is 95, y is 3. X is minus 7, y is 3. It's always 3. Okay? Set it up this way. Another way to look at it is that y equals something, x plus 3. Okay, there's your 3 here. And what would go in front of here, we want to talk about what the slope is. In this case, you have slope of 0. And why does that make sense? Well, if you look at your rise over your run, okay, or your delta y over delta x, you say, how much does this go up or down as you go from one point to another? So if I go from here to here, you would say that it goes up or down 0. Okay, so it has a value of 3. So 3 subtract 3 is 0. And here your run, or how much your delta, what your delta x is the change here, and it's 1. And 0 over 1, remember that 0 over 1 is 0. It's not undefined. We'll get to undefined in a second. So if you look at this guy here, this has a slope of nothing. Okay, and by nothing I mean 0. And then if you write this in here, y equals 0 times x, 0 times x, 0 times anything is 0. So you go y equals 0x plus 3, y equals 0 plus 3, y equals 3. Okay, so that's that. Another thing, I'll get to the other one in a second. How to remember the two of them. Okay, so this has a slope of 0. Okay, so remember that slope equals 0, and it is the horizontal line. So that's y. Oh, I won't write that there. You'll see in a second why. Right here, y equals 3. Now this guy here, I'll give it away. This is x equals 3. So 1, 2, 3. And here, again, you can remember it this way. I'll switch over to green here. You can remember it. Oh, you can remember it that x is always 3. No matter what y is, x is 3. So if y is 7, we don't usually ask if y is something, then x is something. It goes dependent. But if x is 3, y can be anything. Okay. So here y is 1, x is 3. Here y is whatever 5, x is 3. Okay, and then into the negatives. It's always 3. So that's the line x equals 3. Now let's talk about the slope of this. Okay, so when we talk about the slope, this has a slope of 0. The horizontal line has a slope of 0. The vertical line has what we call an undefined slope. And the reason for that is if I take 2 points, so if I took this point and this point, let's say, so if I take, yeah, sure, let's do that. Let's take this point and that point. Okay, so this is the point here, 3, 0, and this is the point 3, 3. Okay, and if I was to figure out the delta y over delta x here, what you're going to have is 0 minus 3, or 3 minus 0, doesn't matter, and then over 3 minus 3. Okay, so you go this minus that, and that's a 3 on the bottom if you can believe it, and that's minus 3 over 0. And it doesn't really matter what points you use, you're always going to end up with this being the same. It's 3 minus 3, your x values are always 3, so your denominator is always going to be 0. And remember that when you talk about something over 0, now 0 over something is 0, but something divided by 0 is undefined. Okay, go back to the grade whatever. When you learn that, think of this. If you have 0 bananas, and you have, if 0 over 9, if you have 0 bananas and 9 friends, how many bananas does each friend have? That's a legit question. Okay, you want to split them up, and you have 0 bananas to give to your 9 friends. Every friend gets no bananas, 0 bananas. The other way around, if you have 9 bananas and 0 friends, that's really sad, but you have a lot of bananas. But if you said, how can you give 9 bananas to none of your friends? How many bananas does each friend have? The answer is, I don't know. Okay, that doesn't make any sense. That's not a real question, right? If I'm going to give something to nobody, that question doesn't make much sense. Okay, so that's an undefined question. Okay, and an undefined slope. And one last thing I want to remember is this. So that's any x equals something. So x equals the number is going to be a line that goes up and down, and a line, anything that's y equals a constant, okay, a solid number like y equals 3, y equals 7, y equals whatever, is going to be a horizontal line. Another way that I remember remember this stuff is this. If I had a roof that was like this, a flat roof, okay, so you build a house, and here's your house, and you build a roof like this, and you said, what is the slope of your roof? You would say, well, my roof has no slope. It's got 0. So you have a flat roof. You have one of those fancy French cottages or whatever they're called, and you have a flat roof. The snow builds up. Bad decision in Canada, but regardless, you have a flat roof of a slope of nothing. Okay. If I came back and said, here's my roof, I built a roof, and it goes up and down, what's the slope of this roof? You would come back and say, that's not a roof. Okay. You don't build that. Okay, you play a game, you play Fortnite or whatever it is, and you build a wall like this, that's a wall, not a roof. So if I said to you, what is the slope of this roof? You would say, sorry, sir, that is not a roof. That is a wall. Okay, so the question is undefined. Flat roof, no slope, not a roof, undefined. Okay, so remember it that way, maybe? I don't know. Either way, y equals 3 goes this way, x equals 3 goes that way. Hope that helps.